What is up, everybody? It's 414 Anime here for Anime Uproar, and I'm back at it again to discuss the latest insane chapter of One Piece. A quick side note to say that I'm filling in for our boy Gozen this week, as unfortunately he is ill. Make sure to send him some love and head pats in the comment section below. I'm sure he'll really appreciate that, and I'll do my best to carry the torch for this week's chapter. A chapter that exploded, dropping a very interesting and unexpected bombshell at the end, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Now, if you do enjoy these One Piece videos on the channel, you know what to do. Smash that like button. If you haven't already, make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications, or you will miss future One Piece chapter reviews and updates. And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. First of all, I'd just like to draw attention to the beautifully coloured illustration in promotion of the new One Piece film Red, where we have a load of our favourite characters. Shanks looks boss as always, Luffy's Gear 5 looking sick as ever, and we of course have our beloved Straw Hats and a bunch of other characters. Now, I'm a bit of a Nami fanboy, so my eyes were definitely drawn to that bottom corner. You love to see it. Now, on to the chapter. Chapter 1065 was entitled The Six Faces of Vegapunk, which, as we all know from chapter 1062, is the 6 satellites that Vegapunk had split himself into, and we are certainly going to see some of them in this one. We start off on Lab Stratum Egghead, the island of the future, with Zoro and Brook, who had stayed on the ship because they did not trust Lilith, the evil Vegapunk. Zoro says, "The way I see it, when it comes to a government island, you gotta think about who's gonna be around to bail them out if they get caught." Of course, the Straw Hats have been in this situation many a time, where they have been split apart and have had to rescue one another. Now, the really funny thing for me is just how normal this situation is for them, and the relaxed and carefree approach they take to it. Brook simply says, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Would you care for some tea?" I just think that's amazing. It's just like, meh, it's okay. They can take care of themselves. If they do need us, we'll just chill until then with some tea. There's no need for us to stress out about it. They can handle themselves. We then see Caribou. If you remember, he snuck onto the ship in a barrel in chapter 1060 when the crew were leaving Wano. We saw him fall out of said barrel in chapter 1061 in the situation involving Vegaforce, and now he's revealing himself to Zoro and Brook. He says in a very timid manner, "Excuse me, sirs," to which Zoro is like, "Bro, you still here?" So brutal. Caribou says that the deal was to drop him off anywhere away from Wano, but he didn't think that they'd be heading for a government island. Again, Zoro replies in a stoic, brutal fashion by saying, "I heard you helped our captain out. Appreciate it. See you around." Again, so cold. To which we see those tears streaming down Caribou's face as he's like, "You jerks, I'll remember this." The question is, will this guy have a part to play in this arc? Seems interesting, so we will definitely have to keep an eye out for any developments there. We then move on to Nami, Usopp, Frankie, Sanji, and Robin, who are all with Lilith. Nami and Usopp are awestruck by the lab and the new stairs that are sprouting out of the ground. Frankie asks Lilith what kind of setup is it that they have here? How is it powered? To which she responds by saying that you could say that the whole island is run on fire. Frankie asks, "Doesn't that burn through a load of natural resources?" To which Lilith says that she is always looking into alternative fuels and if there was such thing as an eternal flame, like the sun. Lilith would like to make her very own sun, and this got me thinking about Luffy, who of course had recently attained his sun god Nika mode. Do you think he will have anything to do with Lilith's plan on making her own sun? There is more evidence that could point to this possibility later in the chapter, so keep that thought in mind for now. We of course also have Sanji and Sabo as contenders for fueling this energy, but like I said, we'll come back to this. So for now, we see more of this island's fascinating technology as Lilith straight up passes through a wall, or the closed main gate as we see in the next panel. The guys are knocking on the door asking her to open up, to which she tells them to never let their own senses dupe them and just to pass through. This really gave me those platform 9 3/4 feels from like the Harry Potter franchise. We then see Sanji's head poke through the wall, and it's such a perfect panel, man. His blank expression just had me in stitches. I don't know why, but it just worked, and I'm all for it. Anyway, the guys manage to pass through the wall with ease, to which Usopp turns around and bangs on the closed gate in shock, saying that it has turned back to metal again. Does this ability to pass through certain walls have something to do with the futuristic clothes that they are wearing? Now, they do have other functions, as we will see later on in the chapter, and we have already seen through Luffy and Bonnie, as they said that the clothes make them feel as light as a feather, so we will have to keep an eye on that one for sure. On our way to see Vegapunk Edison, the third Vegapunk representing Flair, we have a funny little panel where Nami is saying that they should look for futuristic treasure with her classic grin and shiny eyes. Usopp then asks her what she thinks this future treasure looks like, to which she responds by saying that it could be like a flower made out of exquisite antique gems. Usopp, of course, remains unimpressed as he states that he can't tell if her taste is closer to that of a little girl or an old hag. Nami then hits our boy with a future kick in the next panel, and I really appreciate the little bit of humor thrown in there. It's great. In that same panel, we see the rest of the guys shocked by the presence of a certain individual. That certain individual to them is Jinbe, however, something is not quite right. This Jinbe is sat in front of a huge tank that says Seraphim 4. Robin says that she doesn't think it's him as he looks a little too young, and the rest of the crew debate on 3 different possibilities. Usopp takes a guess that it could be his son. Nami thinks that maybe Jinbe has turned into a kid, whereas Sanji thinks it is just a coincidence, and that the kid not only has wings, but also an ominous air about him. Now, I'm sure you, like me, thought Pacifista as soon as you saw him, right? Frankie, in a panicked state, confirms our thoughts by saying that there is a 4th possibility and that he has a bad feeling about it. The 4th possibility being that he is a pacifista. The chapter then explodes into some classic One Piece action as the Seraphim Jinbe unleashes a ferocious laser beam attack, sending our straw hats flying. Usopp, of course, goes into his obvious panic mode and screams that this was all a giant trap and that they should have known that the government were never going to roll out the red carpet for them. Nami, however, springs into action herself and goes on the offensive. She says, does this mean that they are trying to clone Jinbe into some sort of soldier for themselves? She goes on to say that he's still a kid and doesn't want to fight him. However, needs must, and she goes on to attack, which sends him flying back. Now, it was here that we noticed something interesting, as the Seraphim Jinbe is splashing around in the water. Everyone is shocked as Usopp shouts out he's got devil fruit powers. Nami asks what's going on, and we see that Zeus replies to her through her baton, asking if he should pop out, to which she says no. Frankie, also in a panic state, shouts out that he knows that ability. Anyway, out of nowhere, the Seraphim Jinbe lunges forward and grabs our girl Nami by the throat. To which, not cool, man. No one harms our girl. I mentioned at the start of the video that I am rather partial to Nami, so I took this throat grabbing a bit personally. But you know who also took this personally? Oh yeah, Sanji. The next page was a truly epic one in my personal opinion, as we see the burning rage in Sanji's eyes as he announces that the Seraphim Jinbe has just signed his own death warrant by grabbing our beloved Nami by the throat. He continues to say that he doesn't care if he is the real Jinbe or not, and unleashes his fury in a very powerful, very epic kick which sends him flying, freeing Nami from his clutches. Just a super powerful panel there for me, and you just love to see Sanji jumping into the rescue of Nami. Great stuff, truly. Now, the rest of the Straw Hats also go on the offensive to protect one another, with Robin saying that she thinks it is also unforgivable what he has just done, before attacking back with the insane Sea Serpent Snap Dragon Spank, knocking the Seraphim Jinbe back. However, it is not enough to keep him down, as he then turns his attention to Robin, and Usopp then steps up to the bat. After telling Robin to get out of there with his slingshot armed and ready, he notices that Jinbe can also use Fishman Karate. He then fires a lethal green star skull exploding grass, connecting with the head of his target. Usopp goes on to say that he knows that this isn't the real Jinbe, but it feels messed up. The smoke clears and then Jinbe is gone, completely vanished, only to sneak up behind Usopp and grab him. Sanji frantically goes in to save Usopp, but is stopped by Frankie, who says that he has got this. He tells Usopp not to move a muscle as he fires off an insane radical beam. Now, interestingly, of all the attacks the Seraphim Jinbe has just faced, it is Frankie's radical beam that Edison commands him to dodge and watch out for the laser beam attack. This attack of Frankie's really caught the attention of Edison and has most certainly piqued his interest. Edison says he just used a beam. Who in tarnation is this guy? And man, gotta say, it's a great moment for our boy Frankie, that's for sure. This is now where we get to see Edison properly for the first time. And I gotta say, I like his design here. He's this small robot with what looks like a jetpack on his back maybe, and his head is shaped like that of a football. I like it, it's cool. He goes on to say that it's getting risky out there. This Jinbe Seraphim is still just a kid and that he wasn't meant to be put through laser tests until later. Lilith is furious and agrees with Edison as she says, do they have the faintest idea how much one Seraphim costs? Continuing to go full evil mode, she threatens to rip Frankie's skull off, to which we see Edison say, don't you think that's a little bit too evil? Now, I liked that little dynamic between them there, as he seemingly tried to cool her anger in a way that he had to be careful of what he said himself. Now, it is in that moment that Edison has a spark of genius, as he claims to have just come up with a new invention. He rushes off to work on this idea, where he leaves the rest to the next Vegapunk that we are meeting for the first time, Pythagoras, the punk who represents wisdom. This guy is a larger robot who seems to love data, as he says, you don't come across battle data this rich every day. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We then move on to see Edison working away on his idea as he commands the next Vegapunk, York, to eat something for him. She is seen sitting on a giant cushion as a bunch of minions are bringing her loads of food for her to eat. We are even told that her BMI is over 600, which is just crazy. Now, it's a really interesting concept here to see how these different Vegapunks work. We obviously have Edison, who is this crazy genius who comes up with a million ideas a second. Pythagoras is the one who inputs all the data. Lilith is, well, evil. Atlas is a bit of a brawler from the looks of things. Shaka is off talking with Dragon. And York looks to be the glutton of the bunch. The one who eats for all of the other Vegapunks as they are too busy dealing with their own things. So we go back to Pythagoras, who is analyzing all of the combat data and points out that the Seraphim's attack patterns have continued to develop as it grows. He suggests that they try and accelerate their growth, though that will come with its own obstacles, and then mentions the green blood concentration has risen. So I do wonder what this green blood is and what its significance will be. To state the color of the blood does suggest to me that it will be of some importance, but that's all we've got for now. And we find out that York has another function for the Vegapunks. Not only does she consume food for them, but also disposes of it too, if you get what I'm saying here. Edison says he really needs the toilet, but he is far too busy to go, which we then see York coming out of the bathroom. This in its own way is the interesting thing here, as firstly we see that Edison and Pythagoras say that hit the spot, referring to, I guess, the intake and drop off of food from York. And secondly, that York has completely thinned down here, and we are properly introduced to her as York, the Vegapunk of Desire. Now, I may be a bit degenerate and biased here, but I really like what I see from York in this panel. Appearance-wise anyway, as we are told that she is on her 4th SDN cycle of the day, which we are kindly told stands for Snack, Dump, Nap. I don't know about you, but I personally would say that out of all the Vegapunks, York is most certainly living the dream right here. Anyway, back to the face-off with the Seraphim Jinbe, and the fight is interrupted and put to a halt. None other than Shaka has appeared before them all. Lilith is not at all pleased that the fight has been stopped, as she says, of course that scoundrel butts in when things finally get good. Shaka introduces himself to the Straw Hats, and we find out that the boots that they are all wearing are stuck to the floor via gravity and magnetics so that they can't make a move on him. Shaka says that these boots can be magnetically disabled at any point while in the lab. So this is going back to them walking through the gate earlier in the chapter. We yet again see another functionality of these futuristic clothes, which led me to believe that it was these clothes that allowed them to pass through the closed gate. Do you think that's the case? Let us know in the comments, and do you think there'll be more functions to these futuristic clothes? I'm sure we're going to find out more as this arc continues. So back to the conversation. Robin says to Shaka, "So you're saying resistance is futile then?" To which Shaka responds by saying, "I know better than to let my guard down around pirates." This suggests to us that he has had many a dealing with pirates before. Of course, he's talking to Dragon and whatnot, but like, it's interesting. I'm sure there's a bit of history to this guy. Usopp is totally confused here with all of the different Vegapunks that they have just met. I absolutely love his sarcasm here, as Usopp's like, "Oh yeah, did I forget to mention? Yeah, I'm a Vegapunk too." It was just absolutely hilarious, and his face while he was saying this too was just perfect. I absolutely love these little Usopp moments. Frankie tells Usopp to cut it out before Shaka says something very, very interesting, which leads to the big twist of the chapter. He asks, "Do you think this island looks like the future?" Now, Frankie goes into hyper fanboy mode, just like I would in an anime figure shop, as he lists off all the things that he has seen and loved about the island's technology. He just wants to see more, and in a very excited manner just straight out asks Shaka to take him on a full tour of the place so that he can see all the goodies that they are cooking up. Shaka kind of shrugs this off and continues with what he's saying. He's like, "It's actually quite the contrary. This is an island of the past." It then perfectly cuts to Luffy, Bonnie, Chopper, and Jinbe as they are all in awe of a certain sight. Luffy says, "Check it out, Chopper. You can tell because it's all rusted and stuff." As they remain shocked at what they see, we quickly cut back to Shaka and Frankie as he asks, "What do you mean by past?" Shaka says, "What if I were to tell you that long ago there was once a highly advanced kingdom, not unlike Egghead when it comes to technology? A civilization from 900 years ago. Would you believe me?" Now, in this panel, we see a huge, old, rusted mecha golem looking thing. And I've got to say, this thing looks absolutely incredible. Truly does. And of course, in true classic Luffy fashion, he's all like, "I want to ride it." Obviously that is Luffy's reaction. But yeah, this golem, man, it looks absolutely insane. I'm very intrigued on it. To finish the chapter, the narrator asks us, what was the world like back then? And that's the question, isn't it? What a very interesting and intriguing twist right at the end of the chapter. I really love the futuristic vibe that this new arc has had to it so far, but by throwing in the ancient civilization aspect of 900 years ago in there, it's just ramped this one up to another level. Not only has it ramped things up a bit, but it also brought a lot of questions to the table. You know, what was this technology like back then? Does it tie into the ancient kingdom? What happened during all that time? The reveal made me think back to that link to Luffy and his sun god Nika powers with, Lilith's desire to make her own sun that I touched on earlier. Was this ancient kingdom once fueled by Joy Boy, who also had the sun god Nika powers? Was he once their sun and energy resource that has since lied dormant in all that time until now Luffy is on that same island? That was just my first thought on it, but certainly let us know your theories in the comment section below, as well as your thoughts on all the Vegapunks that we've met in this crazy and insane chapter. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more One Piece reviews and chapters, don't forget to smash that like button. Make this the video you subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications, or you will miss future One Piece chapter reviews and updates. Until the next chapter or video drops, feel free to check out our huge and growing One Piece playlist that includes videos on all 7 Yonko, Admirals, an hour-long video on Shanks, and more. Link to that is in the video description and on screen now. Thanks again for having me this week in Gozen's absence, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. Till next time, my friends, take care. Peace!